that may remind them, in a way, to be able to move forward based on truth, in terms of what the truth is, not what the truth isn't. So, in terms of reason, the reason has nothing to do with the lies. There's no such a thing where somebody says, you know, something to do with a lie reason for something to be able to make sense. There's no such a thing. Reason is with truth. So, therefore, truth and reason go together, and everything based on truth has to work accordingly to what the truth is. If somebody's using an excuse based on lies, not based on reasons, for instance, knowing something and acting like they don't know something because they can just go this way and I can do this and I can do that. Why are you giving yourselves an excuse, a lie excuse to go with something that is not true? So people are giving themselves lie excuses. And I want to be specific here. I'm saying lie excuses. I'm not saying excuses. I'm not saying excuses in terms of reasons. I'm talking about lie excuses. People give themselves lie excuses to basically do something in a wrongful way where something is not making sense. So, in terms of somebody's literally, realistically giving themselves an excuse, a lie excuse, excuse me, to know an information, to disregard something, and act like they're not aware of something. Why? There's a sense in everything. There's a nonsense in everything. There's a just in everything. There's a less just in everything. There's a not just in everything. Something that is not just today can be just later on based on all elements to the story. Doesn't equal people continue the path of nonsense. People stop in the path of nonsense. People reverse in the path of nonsense. And so, makes sense. Some people, just like the word in the sentence, the perfect word in the sentence makes sense. So that equals if there are things that people are aware of, why don't they be the answers? Can they be aware? Yes. Why aren't they wanting to be aware? They're not aware? Can they be aware? If they're not aware, can somebody make somebody aware of specifications to change specifications for everything else to change accordingly to what the truth is? We live in the 21st century. I think that's possible. So, the sophisticated way and how some people may feel in doing things may be the reason why somebody does something or doesn't do something. Something may make sense, something may not make sense. This is a different topic of discussion. A different topic of discussion is how some people are like, oh, well, look, this is going for you. This is not 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 going for you. This is going for you. This is going for you. This is not going for you. This is going for you. This is going for you. This is not going for you. This is going for you, and so on and so forth. I understand. If people simply understand what happened to consider what happened, things will start making more sense. The things that some people may claim is not going for me may not make sense to those groups of people. The very same thing to somebody else may say, okay, well, because of this, because of this, because of this something is not going for something, is not making sense. So this equals how based on elements to the story, based on knowing what's going on, based on being true, based on making a correct measurement in the totality of all things, something tomorrow may make sense. Just like this has been proven, just like I have proved. Somebody thinks something doesn't make sense at this moment of time. Tomorrow, a week from today, a month from today, a year from today, something may start making sense again. Why? Because you need elements to the story and what's going on, what's happening. Somebody only thinks about thing in an image. You don't fit an image, you're wrong. You don't dress nicely, you're wrong. You don't sound nice, you don't sound well, you're wrong. You know, you dig into a trash or you look some way, you're wrong. You don't have a diploma, you're wrong. This is just in a general rule of thumb of what's taking place. Are those people correct? Can those people be correct? Yeah, they can. They're not wrong. So people have to do the true measurements in terms of what's going on. If people don't do the true measurements in terms of what's going on, they're not going to ever know what the true story is. So to know what the true story is to basically be the truth to know what the true story is. If somebody is not the truth, they cannot know what the true story is. Doesn't work. You may notice something in a limited like way. You may not know something in a limitless like way. So ultimately, this earth is capable of a limitless like thing. This earth, this plane of existence, has no limits. You know why something may have limits? Is because something is controlled in a wrongful way. To be controlled in a wrongful way, you have limits. To be controlled in a correct and true way, there's no limits. So, why are there limits in reality? There are limits in reality because people are doing something that doesn't make sense. Somebody, instead of drinking water, they're getting a cup, they're pouring Coke inside, or they have a bottle, or they have a can, or they have a 12 ounce, or they have a 40 ounce, whatever that may be, a bottle, and they're basically drinking something that doesn't make sense. Is there more of a sense than what they're drinking? Is there something better, in other words, than what they're putting in their body? I just threw Coke away. I just threw Coke in the trash can. I'm gonna go pick the Coke up. Watch. This was in the trash can. I just got it from a trash. 28% sugar. I don't know how much 28% is from this bottle. However, maybe a lot of sugar. May have 37 to 40 grams of sugar in here. Each gram is a teaspoon, so keep that in mind. What makes sense? Water or Coca-Cola? Both are liquid. This one happens to be H2O, and this one happens to be H2O mixed with a bunch of sugar and different types of things that are not good for somebody. They don't know exactly what the ingredients may be. That's irrelevant though, and relevant at the same time. Now, the problem with this is this doesn't make sense. Going back to my point, there's a lot of things in reality that are just like this: something better than, something less than. This less than gotta go. You're left with water. Something less than that's not making sense. Somebody's going to a store and purchasing, and they're basically limiting themselves. This limits somebody. They think, oh, I'm going to support this. Support this? You're going to buy this? You're going to want this? You're going to need this? The whole misuse of truth is what's going on. You can't want something that's harmful. This is harmful. How can you be able to purchase something that is harmful? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't add up. Doesn't make sense. Why is somebody able to want something that doesn't make sense? Just like I was mentioning today, the mask thing and people what they're wearing also doesn't make sense. This also doesn't make sense. This is only a form of condition. The condition is like a training thing where somebody repeats something over and over and over again, and somebody's born into something or sees something over and over again, sees other people do it, has normalized to something, therefore thinks something is normal. Drinks this one time, couple times, 3 times, 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. How many times does each person drink Coca-Cola a year? What is this responsible for? This is not good news. This is good news. So, in terms of something that makes sense, something that is less than of sense, what business does something less sense have inside of somebody's body? Not to mention everything to do with misuse of truth. You cannot want something that is harmful. You cannot enjoy something that is harmful. Why? Because there's no such a thing. Allow this to sink in what I'm saying. Then you understand a thing or two. Because if somebody says, oh, there is such a thing, and tries to go against what I'm saying, what they're saying is, okay, there's such a thing. You're misusing truth. You want something in a wrongful way. You're enjoying something in a wrongful way. You're going against your body. You're killing yourself. And if you continue this path of nonsense, will there be such a thing? There's no such a thing. Temporary stuff. Now think about in reality how many things like that exist that people are doing. This is one nonsense. How many other nonsense things are people partaking on a daily basis? No such a thing. Nonsense stuff is no such a thing. Nonsense stuff is a wrong math. Nonsense stuff doesn't add up with reality. What is this? What does this belong? Why is this in reality? For what reason? For what purpose does this have? There is no purpose. There's something better. This is something better. And I can drink this, and this has to do with sense, and I want something, and something is good, and something adds up, and something makes sense, and something goes in a correct, true direction. This is part of reality. That invisible thing that no longer exists is not part of this reality. I can offer water. I can't offer this. I can. I choose not to. It doesn't make sense. So, what else is not making sense in reality? This is junk food. I happen to meet the person that made this logo. This junk food is mixed with some type of a healthy options and ingredients, mixed with things that have a weird reaction perhaps inside of them. Do people even read their ingredients when they shop at the store? You should. Some of this type of stuff when you read, you can't even pronounce. You can't even pronounce a bunch of stuff. Yet this type of stuff, people are conditioned to think something is normal, where something's not making sense, where you can't want something that doesn't make sense, that takes you in a wrongful backward direction, to basically buy something that doesn't add up with reality. So this is another problem in reality. What is this tied and connected to? What is this tied and connected to? Are these things tied and connected to something? If so, what? You don't know. Why do you buy something you don't know? You feed unknown stuff that equals. Something is wrong. You don't know. Something is true. You do know. If somebody tries to tie and connect this with some type of a wrong thing, they can't because this is true. And if they do, that doesn't make sense. For some weird, odd reason, if somebody has this tied and connected to something, this makes sense. Where something may be tied connected to some type of a wrongdoing. Why? Because this is lie based. This is true based. This is the problem in reality. This is the problem in reality. This is not the problem in reality. So, in terms of what business does this problem have in reality? This is a form of condition, of a repetition, of something that some people may think is normal. Does this have anything to do with what is normal? No, because normal adds up, makes sense, and goes in the correct true direction. Normal is not something that is going in a backward direction, not good, doesn't make sense, and is sold. This is the cancer, okay? This is the virus in reality. You know, people talk about the COVID-19 and the virus in reality. Guess what they're referring to? And some people believe that other things are a virus in reality. They don't realize that this is the virus in reality. This is the virus in reality. Take a good look at this because I haven't drank this in over 5 years, possibly more. I love Coke. I enjoy Coke. Except I don't because I realize love and Coke and enjoy have nothing to do with one another. I stopped drinking this. I stopped drinking that Coke because this type of stuff is basically a violation. This type of stuff is the virus. This type of stuff is forbidden. This is the forbidden aspects. These are the forbidden things in reality that I mentioned. This has no business in reality. You cannot technically buy and sell this. Yet, what has happened? You've been conditioned, you've been lied to, you think this is normal. To think for even a second that you can buy and sell this and drink this and enjoy this and get mad at somebody like me to think this is somehow bad. This is bad. People think this is not bad. They don't know the definition of what bad is. Something is empty. The word bad may be empty. So, this type of stuff that people have been normalized to and accustomed to have to be unaccustomed to, unnormalized, and realize that this does not belong in reality. Anybody that wants changes cannot continue to cling on to bogus, to nonsense, and expect change to occur. Some are going all the way, with however much they can try to sell this to you because they know once they can't, they're going to try to change this. They're going to change this. For long people partake in this bogus stuff is going to exist. When people stop partaking in this bogus stuff, this automatically changes. What does this change to? This changes to something that is healthy, like this, that is good for you, good for a being, and good for the planet. Not this, where something is not good for you, not good for the being, not good for the planet. So I'm glad I don't drink this. I'm happy that I don't drink this. The reason I'm happy, the reason I'm glad that I don't drink this is because I know that this doesn't make sense, that this is not good, that this goes in a backward direction, that this may be tied and connected to some type of a bogus thing occurring on this earth where somebody's suffering for no reason. This is the culprit. I'm the victim. Is there a better way? This is the better way. So there's many, many things in reality, numerous things in reality, that don't make sense. And so the whole point of anything that's not making sense is to change something that does not make sense. Stop believing the lies. There shouldn't be any lies for anybody to believe. Stop partaking in the lies. There shouldn't be any lies to partake. What people need to do is realize that they cannot be in this like weird mode that has nothing to do with them, that isn't them, that doesn't make sense with who they are, doesn't make sense with who they're capable of being, doesn't add up with truth, doesn't add up with any form of sense in reality, and therefore has no business in reality. All these things that people think that have business in reality has no business in reality. What business does this have in reality except no business? Thumbs down. There's a better way. If there's a better way for this and this, believe me, there's a better way for everything. You know what the better way is, though? Somebody cannot drink this or buy this and continue to buy this and drink this and expect something else to be in terms of the better way. Something cannot be half bad and half good. If you're gonna be half bad and half good, that doesn't make sense. Why? Because you remove the good, you're left with bad, and how many people on this planet are still partaking in the bad? Over 10 billion beings, if not more, that are partaking in something that's harmful. What happens? The bad stays. Now think about this. That's just an example to realize, not pick and choose anything, that the bad is exactly what needs to be removed. The good is exactly what needs to stay. The junk food, people cannot expect to eat junk food and be in balance within themselves. That's a misconception. I thought about eating junk food too, and I thought about being in balance with myself at one point of time in this like subconscious and like natural way. And I never questioned myself to think like, hey, you know what? There's healthy food and there's junk food make me balance with myself. Didn't make sense. Didn't add up. So I'm a sense type of person. And when something doesn't add up, doesn't make sense, I think about why something that I thought made sense at one point doesn't make sense anymore. Why? Because you cannot be in balance with healthy food and junk food at the same time. So what's really going on is the fact that there's a lack of understanding taking place. There's a abnormal thing that has been normalized to be viewed something is normal, and people want changes to occur at the same time while clinging on to something that is harmful. People are basically clinging on to something that is harmful and they expect some change to occur. I'm not talking about clinging on like something. I'm talking about using something in a wrongful way. Somebody's hurting themselves with this stuff. You know what happens? People stop drinking this type of stuff. You know what happens? Changes start occurring. Changes start occurring where something from bad changes to something good. Now imagine if this aspect of reality that's going on, how many other aspects of reality that needs to happen? What else are people doing that is wrong? And people thinking what else doesn't make sense, they start changing what doesn't make sense. They start changing to something that does make sense. And then the changes occur where something is enabled for something else to happen, something is enabled for something else to happen, something is enabled for something else to happen, for changes to basically be manifested in reality. And so some people are misjudgers. They're not seeing everything in the totality of all aspects how everything happened. So that they're sensing something, they're thinking about something that doesn't make sense, that doesn't have anything to do with reality. If you ask me what this is politics. The politics is what goes against reality. The politics cannot go against reality. The politics must cease to exist for everything else to continue. The politics is a corruption. The politics is a corruption of reality. What business does politics have in reality? Politics is a last resort that has somehow been a first resort. Can you imagine? Politics is a last resort. Yet some people are playing politics like something is normal. Condition, abnormal, not good, doesn't make sense, doesn't add up, goes backward direction, temporary, problem, virus that people are talking about. I don't drink Coca Cola. I stopped drinking Coca Cola over 5 years ago. So how many aspects of reality are there virus-like things in reality? Too many, if you ask me. What's something going to take for this to get out of reality? Changes, understanding, and everything I just mentioned. Excuse me. Changes, understanding, and everything I just mentioned. That's all that's needed for something to be understood, for something to make sense, for something to continue to make sense. So the lies and the politics in reality have to basically be out of reality. You know when? Yesterday, day before, 10 days ago, 100 years ago, 100 days ago, 100 years ago, long time ago, long time ago. So why is something still lingering? Why is something still in reality that basically has no business in reality? You know why? Because of something that shouldn't exist. Because of something else 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 that shouldn't exist. Because something else that shouldn't exist. Because of something that shouldn't exist. Because of something that shouldn't exist, something exists, something else exists, something else exists, something else exists. Is that normal? Has nothing to do with normality at all. Doesn't make sense, doesn't add up. What normal if something doesn't make sense, if something doesn't add up? Has nothing to do with reality. People don't know what reality is. I don't think people have experienced reality. People don't know what reality is. Dora. People don't know what reality is because there's no way people can know what reality is simply because reality is not in all the ways truth, and the sense is when everything in reality changes to this, that's reality. Do people want to live like this artificial reality that we currently experience? Is that what I'm understanding? Do people realistically want to live in a weird reality that we're currently experiencing? I don't think they do. I don't think so. I don't think so. Things cannot change if people still are partaking in this, expecting different results. So I can continue, I can continue, I can continue, I can continue, I can continue. I'm infinite within myself and outside of myself. That's not the point though, even though that is part of the point. The point is for people to wake up. I'm not talking about in a wrongful way. I'm talking about from within themselves and resting and rejuvenating and connecting the dots and problem solving and thinking and making sure and ensuring that this is understood. Reality has turned back to where reality belongs. Reality doesn't deserve this. Mother Earth doesn't deserve this. The beings on the planet, whether animals, aliens, humans, nature, species of birds, bugs, insects, reptiles, they don't deserve this. What is this? What the heck is this? And don't look back. You know? When they say don't look back, they're not saying don't look back at something behind you. They're talking about something else. Or maybe they are talking about don't look back and behind you. This reality is not what the reality of the situation of what reality is. Therefore, that equals changes. For the reality to return back to the reality and how the reality is supposed to be operating. So, in all aspects of reality, reality has to return back to how reality is supposed to be operating. These, while I'm explaining this type of stuff, there's the same sound that's occurring that I'm mentioning in previous times, in terms of some type of weird sounds that people are doing. And I know why they're doing this type of stuff. They're doing this type of stuff because while I'm doing this, while I'm speaking, they want me to be interrupted and me mention something to do with some type of a bogus thing like this that's occurring in reality. So in some people's minds, they want me to mention something where something was repeated like 50 times And I'm not going to mention, you know why? Because I don't believe bogus that exists. Same thing in the beginning. All this type of stuff was going on, these playouts, and I didn't mention because simply I knew it was lies. I knew it was bogus. I didn't partake in this type of stuff. I'm not part of this type of stuff. I don't care about this type of stuff. This type of stuff should not be existing, should not be back and forth with where I am. This karmic stuff and what people are playing with. They're messing with this. That's part of reality. While I knew in my mind, I believed that none of this part of bogus was occurring. Not only was I disregarding something because I knew something was lies and I was aware that somebody was aware and they were aware that I was aware and so on and so forth. I was continuing on saying what I'm saying. I'm trying to process 10,000 important things, just like I was having a conversation with earlier with someone. And the thing is because some things are not abundantly transparent, things have to be established very, very correctly for other things to be established correctly. Because what some people are doing is they want something to be continued in this way, in a nonsense way, without establishing that this makes sense and this doesn't make sense. And some people want all the answers to see what kind of argument they're going to throw at me or they're going to have. And guess what? They're going to fail every single time. And when they try to lie and pass lies for truth, they're going to fail on top of they're going to fail. And when they try to convince and dupe and condition and make people believe the lies, guess whose responsibility that is? Guess whose problem that is? Guess whose karmic problem that is? The very same groups that play that game. That's unjust. Whether tomorrow or not tomorrow, the next day, if something is going to be fixable or not, it's going to be just, is a different story. If something cannot be fixed, what can be done to replace that something that cannot be fixed? Just keep in mind that everything in this planet has to be like this. There's no other way. Why? Because we're already in a lack of balance, a void. We're already in a lack of balance void that we cannot afford this. Yeah, what are some people doing? Like, oh, we could go another time. We can continue doing and continue this way. Guess whose watch this is happening on? The planet's watch and all beings. The beings on this planet and the planet itself is suffering because of virus-like nonsense that exists here in this reality. That should not exist in this reality. So the point is to understand. In being aware, in understanding, in realizing the truth, people start making changes. From this to this, that should have realistically happened 1,000 years ago. You know how the planet was supposed to start? The planet was supposed to start from point one, where something makes sense, to point two, where something makes sense, to point three, that something makes sense, to point four, that something makes sense, to point five, that something makes sense, and so on and so forth, to point six and seven and eight and nine and 10 and 11 and 12, and so on and so forth. That's how the planet should have started. Now, at this moment of time, and how our planet is experiencing everything is like this: one point here, that's supposed to be here, and the second point that is supposed to be here is here, and something that is the third one is here, supposed to be here, and the fourth one that's here should be here, and so there's like a mix of everything, in other words. The mix may be like this ingredient over here with a weird reaction. That some people think, oh yeah, something is like natural, and then they put the natural stuff together. It's like a weird reaction. So this is a mix too. There's a mix in here that shouldn't be here. Doesn't make sense. That's why. And so reality is mixed up all over the place. Everything. Number one problem here on this earth: reality being mixed with a bunch of stuff that simply, instead of being here, here, and here, and here, and here, is basically all over the place. How to be able to get all this mix where everything, everywhere, everything is, where everything was 1,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, when the planet started, when being started, where something is from very, very beginning to point one to point two. Once we can establish the point one, we can establish the point two. Once we can establish the point one, we can establish the point two. Of course, if we establish the point two, then the point three and four and everything else will make perfect sense. You have to establish the point one at the beginning. If not, the point one, the very, very beginning, will not be like this, and the point one in the beginning of how this is supposed to be. Somebody will say the point one is like this, where this is not true. Just because I put it together doesn't make something true. If I force something together. This is a force. Here we have liquid, we have water. Everything is water. Everything liquid is water. So think about how this is a mix. That doesn't make sense with reality. And so therefore, this has to basically change, just like I've mentioned before, to only be this. The quicker this changes and is like this, the sooner that point one will be found, the point one will be established, and then everything else will go from there. The quicker that point one is established and understood correctly, based on questions and answers, the quicker everything will change. Not in a nonsense way, in the way something is needed to change, in the correct way. Because if you ask me, the type of situation that we're involved in, everybody in this moment of time, in all aspects of reality, here in reality, is that every single thing must be like this. For everything to continue in a correct and true way, so the point two can be established, so point three can be established, so the point four can be established, so the fifth point will be found and be established, and the six, seven, eight, nine, and 10, and so on to infinity. People think, oh, yeah, we can continuously do something in a way where, you know, something makes sense, so we can do something and get away with something, except something makes sense like this, where it doesn't really make sense, and then something makes sense like this, where what is needed and makes sense. And people think that so long they can do something in a nonsense way and call something sense, they think that they're basically going to continue in that way because they're used to something, used to being in my life, used to not making things abundantly transparent for me, not making sense, expecting sense, and something is forceful, something doesn't make sense, goes in a backward direction, something is temporary, something will be a bubble that will blow in this very moment of time. And what's occurring? Why? Not because I say so, because this is what some people want to continue to do. Not just in this moment of time, not in this aspect of reality, however, in every aspect of reality, wherever is like this. Something less than, something that is true. That's not how things are going to work. So, you know what's going to happen? Things have to be abundantly transparent, make sense. And I would suggest in a 1 plus 1 mathematic like way. Because this makes sense, yet this doesn't make sense. How can something make sense and not make sense? That doesn't make sense. Just like I've mentioned before. So that equals that things have to be understood, be based on truth, and be based on true direction for something to continue. Otherwise, the continuation is a forceful continuation, and the continuation of a forceful continuation should not exist in reality. Simply because the continuation of nonsense that exists in reality is basically something that is not normal. And so anything that is not normal is therefore abnormal. Anything therefore that is abnormal has to change and be normal. In doing so, this will ensure and make sure that something is found, goes back to point one for the point two to be in a one plus like one like way for something to make sense. So then what I'm understanding is somebody's throwing dirt on the floor and they want somebody to pick the dirt up. What I just understood. You know what? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense because somebody should not be throwing dirt on the floor for another person to have to pick the dirt up. What does make sense is for somebody to basically throw the dirt in the trash where the trash belongs, for somebody not to have to pick up your dirt. So that happens in a way where people lag, stuck, cause issues on somebody, make people stay back from their purpose, move forward in a wrongful way. This is what they portrayed. When this is available. Instead of this, where this is like this, and it's like this. There's nothing there. Temporary. Could it be we're feeling the temporariness across the whole planet based on all the issues that are occurring? Could this be that we're feeling the voids, the temporariness, the nonsense that other beings are suffering? For long it's not some being, it's another being, and people think somehow something is okay, something is normal. No being should be suffering in general. Hence, I created what I created. Self evident truth and power, updating transitions and developments, stopping physical and emotional harm, not partaking in forbidden aspects. I'm not mentioning everything else, not like I don't remember everything else, I choose not to. When people focus on these four things, everything else works out magically. In A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z, and beyond. Just like Buzz Lightyear. So this can work. This can work in the correct and true way. When there's people that mess in the processes in a mixed way, in a temporary way, in a tampering way, excuse me, not temporary way, messing things up, tampering with things, manipulating things, changing things where things don't belong, and so on and so forth, and expect different results and partake in forbidden aspects and think that this is normal and expect change to occur. How does that occur? How does that happen? How does that add up? Does that make sense? Just because a lot of things don't make sense doesn't equal people find an opportunity and get all wild up and say, oh, and then go around and blame people. If there's any blame that I could do, I could start blaming the whole entire planet and find every single being that needs to be blamed. This type of situation, everybody in general is supposed to be aware of specifications to change this to this for things to continue in a correct, true way. And while I'm mentioning this, some people think something is a good idea to show up in the midst and try to take credit for something, seems like. try to put themselves in the force themselves in the book, in this like mosquito like way in whatever they're doing. Bzzz, driving over stuff, sticking things. I don't know how they're sticking things. If something is based on lies, things cannot be stuck. Things cannot work this way. Look at where the buzz arrived. The buzz arrived on this video that I'm making live on YouTube. I shouldn't have to. The buzz that I just mentioned shouldn't have to be live on this video, except the buzz is. You know why? Because the buzz exists. Should the buzz exist? No. The buzz is this. People are playing a game, seeing who makes a choice, who doesn't make a choice. Matter of fact, non-censors have no right to, no business to view people and what choice they do, what choice they don't do, why they do something, why they don't do something. That's their choice. That's their life. No one can go against people that choose not to partake in this type of stuff. Everyone has to make sure that everything is running based on truth and true direction. That no one goes in somebody's lives and see, oh, why do you make a choice like this? Why do you not make a choice like this? 10,000 reasons, a million reasons why. None of your business too. And a million trillion reasons why. And none of your business too. This has to happen. Whether you like something or you don't like something, doesn't matter to me. Why? Because understand this correctly. You don't matter to the earth. If you're gonna do this and you're gonna go against the very nature of the earth, and because this may be tied and connected and you don't know, and you may be partaking in some type of virus like behavior, not this, everything else in between what people are doing every single day. Things will not work out correctly. And people expect different results. You can expect all you want, you just can't, get different results. And the thing is you shouldn't be bothering anybody in the process. That's what a lot of people are doing. They're bothering people in the process. They've been bothering me in the process. I can answer people's questions. I can do what I need to do, what people want me to do. Yet, in the wrongful way, they want to cause issues and me do something so they could try to distort the image. I'm going back to point one. This has to be established first before anything else. And this is not established, and some people can think they're going to be sneaky and clever and get away with something because they got away with something for a month, for a year, for 2 years, for 10 years. Everything will be known. Because something is wrong. Something is wrong. Some people understand different way. So that's why they got a different image possibly at the moment of time. However, the whole point is not that, even though that is part of the point. The point is that time is running out. something that's 100 years that could have been on this planet and been a month, a month, a month, a month, a month, a month, 10 days, on a bunch of beings has now gone. Why? Because someone decided to hurt an animal today. Someone decided to buy this bogus today. A bunch of people called God. I want to ruin their surprise of what God is, because I don't think people know what God is. They just talk about God. They don't know what God is. They haven't even seen the truth of what God is. They don't even know what God is. They're talking about God. People don't know what God is. If you eat meat, if you buy junk food, if you do any form of nonsense thing and whatever anybody's doing, don't claim yourself anything to do with God. Okay? You're not part of God. You don't know what God is. When you learn what God is, then you can talk about the word God and you can utter the word God. Otherwise, some people don't even know what God is, yet they have the audacity to utter the word God. You don't know what God is. You don't even know what truth is. You don't even know who you are. Yet you're going to talk about God. When I talk about knowing who you are, I'm talking about naturally knowing who you are. I'm not talking about anything else. I'm talking about starting from scratch, knowing who you are naturally. That's knowing yourself. Everything else is a part of knowing yourself, of course. However, naturally is the most important thing. So people don't know what God is. People don't even know who they are. They're going to talk about God. People don't know what God is. People don't know who they are. How they can know what God is? People have to get to know who they are. Any form of toxicity, in terms of thoughts, in terms of words, in terms of visions, in terms of doings, in terms of food, in terms of partaking, wanting, needing, supporting, believing, creating, buying, selling, entertaining, dwelling upon, choosing, deciding. If anything is any form of nonsense, that's not part of God. Nothing to do with God. Do not give God a nonsense name. Do not give truth a nonsense name. So when people establish a bunch of stuff to do with what God is, what truth is, and they are part of God, they are part of truth, then they can maybe talk about God and what the truth is. Otherwise, they should not be able to. Even if you do, no one will take anybody realistically seriously. I understood something very well, where everybody's with me, where I have all the power I need, I could do anything I want. Guess what I did? I turned my back on everyone, on everything, to try to find out who I am. because this doesn't make sense with me. That's why.
You know what happened? You ended up in places that didn't make sense. It didn't make